Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is Preacher Moss, host of the SOS the Shadow Show. Welcome to our More Better Mondays edition of the show. I hope you're having a great day on Labor Day. Inshallah, some of you are getting your I want to say getting your cookout in. I always say, as I stated earlier in the past show, this is our last outdoor activity for a holiday. So I do hope that you're spending it well and hopefully spending it with family, having good vibes and good spirits the whole night. We start off the show. We always want to give a shout out for us sick and shut ins. Shout out for Sister Nancy Mustafa, Sister Eleanor Johnson, Sister Lorraine, Brother Kendrick Samuels. We have all of these things. And, to begin the show, brothers and sisters, I got a text from Sister Satana that a very well known actor, Michael K. Williams, he played the iconic role of Omar in The Wire. Just at 54 years old, he's gone. We don't have any news or reason, cause of death or anything like that. But I don't think you really need a cause of death once you have established that the person is gone. And I think the thing that comes as a surprise is that we had of course, we had no warnings, we haven't like that. But with COVID, as discussed with Sister Satana, it's like you don't really need a warning in any of that. It seems like we are always on a state of high alert, whether it be COVID and even before COVID. The Trump years were always a year of high alert. And even with Obama, his first term, we were dealing with the housing crisis. And I believe, brothers and sisters, from that time of Obama taking office to the time we are right now, brothers and sisters, I believe that we have become potentially the generation of anxiety. You have the Generation M, Generation X, but we are the generation of anxiety. We live in a space where anxiety is hardwired into a lot of our thinking, a lot of our expressions, even a lot of our aspirations to do things. It is hardwired whereby we have a second and third and fourth emotional response to things that we really didn't have before. So even with this situation, when someone passes now, because of the current pandemic, we tend to look at the fact how that person lived their lives before the pandemic and specifically how they lived their lives after the pandemic. Health becomes this major quotient in a way that it's not just our health, but that our health and the health of your neighbor can literally determine the overall health and safety spatial relations in your own community, in your own family. So today I'm going to take a little time out of the game to talk about that. Before I go any further, I have to give a shout out to Dr. Bilal Butchware, who came through, brothers and sisters, and just dropped all kinds of knowledge yesterday. If you get a chance, go back to yesterday's broadcast. I mean, he gave, he, as they say in the 5% Nation, he was giving mathematics yesterday. And I have to say, brothers and sisters, it was really important for me to be a part of that and have a 500 episode that kind of represents the growth of the show. The growth of the show is not just the growth of, hey, we have guests, but is honoring and understanding the evolution between myself, Sister Zatanna, and making a show out of a very singular idea. The singular idea is that we're going to do a podcast, and then it moved to we're going to do a better podcast. Then we're going to do a consistent podcast. Then we talked about aspects of quality. We talked about quality guests, quality of broadcast, quality of equipment we were using. We did all these things, brothers and sisters, and I have to say that it is very much a winning formula for a lot of things. But when you start talking about anxiety, if for some reason, brothers and sisters, we have gone to a point whereby anxiety is number one, valued, measured, and transferred. Valued, measured, and transferred. We used to joke when I did social services. We used to talk about all the medications that kids used to have to take. So you have to take Ritalin and Adderall and all these medications to slow the child down so they'd be able to learn. But now you have a plethora of drugs that allow people, quote unquote, to function in a fast world. In a fast world whereby if they didn't have these prescriptions, if you will, It's not that the world would pass them by. It's just that it would move at a speed whereby they were not able to interpret it. So today we're going to take some time. We're going to talk about, are we the generation of anxiety? I'm Preacher Monster's Shout Out Show. Sincere condolences to Michael K. Williams' family. Let's go ahead and get the show, the Shout Out Show, SOS. Go ahead.
Tarife Atar. The scent of enlightenment. A gentle reminder that air, water, and fire indeed are life-giving essences. Appreciate the intersection of time and luxury. Magnify your essence. Tarife Atar.
All right. Shout out from our old sponsor, Tarifa Altar. I have a special surprise. We're going to have the owner of Tarifa Altar here on the show. It won't be next week, but probably the week afterwards, brothers and sisters. We're going to have our first unboxing here on the show. When I say by unboxing, what we're going to do is we're going to have sample product from Tarifa Altar. We're going to actually go through some of the fragrances. You're going to get to hear a little bit about how Brother Jordan Richter came to this space, about producing perfumes and fine oils. And if you're lucky, we will make sure that you will receive your own custom copy. I've already purchased at least 10 little packages that we'll have for the people that decide to tune in. All right. So as we had last time, we didn't get to do it, but I owe some people. There's some people that I owe perfume. I know who you are. Don't worry about it. But anybody else coming on, you're on a different list, but there are people who have oils and perfumes coming their way. Sister Satana, calm down. You know you got yours. I know who has oil and perfume. I know I'm getting old and forgetful, but that part I have not forgotten. Brothers and sisters, a couple years ago, I needed a prescription filled. I had to get a prescription filled, and I didn't want to go through the whole thing of having to go see a primary care physician. So I called a friend of mine. I said, "Hey, listen, I have this prescription." He was like, "Oh man, I'll write you a prescription." He's like, "But I need you to just come on in if you don't mind coming in." I was like, "Okay," and I got there, and the law says he has to at least see you once, and I'm like, I'm in good shape. Now, here's the background, brothers and sisters. I don't like to go to the doctor's office, okay? I don't like to go to the doctor's office. I don't like to go to the hospital. I would rather do whatever I need to do health-wise to stay out of that situation. Even if it's a checkup, I don't like to go, okay? So I'm going to give you that as a preface. So I go to my friend who's a cardiologist, nice guy, nice practice. I get there, and as I get off the elevator, I'm like, man, I really don't want to be here. And as I sit in there, they tell me, hey, you need to fill out these forms. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought we had something a little bit more informal. So you can see where the anxiety is building. I didn't want to go in the first place. Now you're telling me I have to be there longer than what I wanted to be. And in the back of my mind, being there longer than I wanted to be, it's really playing my mind because they only give the first 30 minutes you're there for free parking. Okay, so I'm having one of these things and it gets longer and longer and longer. And my friend goes, "Hey, why you here? You know what? You're here. You might as well just do a checkup." I don't want to check. No, let's just take your vitals. I don't want to take my vitals. I need you to give me my prescription that could be gone because I got 5 minutes left on the free parking. You see how I'm thinking, brothers and sisters. I'm not trying to be there. All right, brother. If it means I can get my prescription refill, okay, cool. So they put the old thing on the sleeve, on the arm for the blood pressure machine. They pump it up, and the young lady goes, "Okay." And she takes the number down. She doesn't tell me what my readings are, what my vitals are. And she gives them to my friend, the cardiologist. He runs in. He's like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my, this is terrible." And I'm looking around the room going, "Who's it terrible for? What's wrong?" He goes, "You." I mean, what about me? Your blood pressure is high. You're a dead man walking. Now, brothers and sisters, blood pressure high, dead man walking. All right, it's too much. And I try to tell him, listen, before you fall in love with those numbers, I need to tell you something. He's like, what's it? I said, I don't like coming into doctor's offices. I said, it increases my anxiety. He goes, we should never have anxiety when you come to the doctor's office because you're amongst friends. No, I'm amongst doctors who deal with people who are sick. I wasn't sick when I came in. I just needed a prescription. All right. So by the time I leave the brother and sister, I have the prescription that I wanted to get refilled. And then I have a new prescription for high blood pressure that I got to get filled. So now my anxiety is really upset. And when I got back to the parking structure, I now have to pay a whole $2 because I was there for an hour. That's my definition of anxiety on a small scale. It's trivial. When we talk about introducing ideas of global incapacity around health, brothers and sisters, there's something that's missing there. We're talking about having a velvet touch with things that people are not understanding. People are dying. We don't understand why they're dying. But instead of having a velvet touch, brothers and sisters, the media, who I do blame intently, the media and the people who don't want information to get correctly, the people have created an infrastructure, almost a misinformation industrial complex to make sure that people stay on high alert. I remember watching CNN at one time for almost just, gosh, it must have been 10 months till the numbers finally went down. 10 months, brothers and sisters. Well, you would turn on CNN and it would not tell you just the amount of people who it was a ticker board. It wouldn't tell you the amount of people that got it. It would tell you the amount of people that died. And it was in the corner, the over the left shoulder of the person. And it didn't matter whatever news they gave you, you would tune into that box that told you that people were dying all around you. And my point, brothers and sisters, is that type of stuff lends to unmitigated levels of high anxiety. For a year now, over a year, I would say 17 months, we have been dealing with increased anxiety, but also even going back to the 2016, the 2016 elections, we're still dealing with this high impetus on anxiety. And I don't think that enough people are talking about it. I think one of the things that would be interesting is to somehow conduct a study of people who passed and being able to ascertain the level of anxiety as they dealt with things like COVID. You know, you have instances of family members who went into the hospital together and maybe died 3 or 4 hours apart from one another. And people say, oh my gosh, isn't that terrible? I'm like, no, that's stress. That is stress. And the one thing about anxiety, brothers and sisters, because there's good types of anxiety. There's anxiety that makes you want to leap into action. You want to find out about something. You want to pursue something. We don't talk about good anxiety. We talk about the most debilitating aspects of anxiety that leads people to these weird places of inertia. They're not able to move, they're not able to function, they're not able to process information. And when they are able to move, they are moving only under the auspices of something that's driving you to act beyond your space, to have you act in a way whereby you limit your capacity or connection to people. And I think, as I begin to look at this space, even more brothers and sisters, though we are in this space, it behooves me, brothers and sisters, it behooves me that there are places and pockets around the world that are not dealing with the economy of anxiety the way that we are here. Let me give you a fact. Before the earthquake hit Haiti, Haiti was not necessarily on anybody's radar after the last earthquake, right? So, Tony, when was the earthquake? 2010? Was it 2010? 2012? I lose track. But they weren't on anybody's radar, brothers and sisters. And you start thinking about everything that's happened from then. Haiti was never on anybody's radar until they had the recent earthquake. Now, you would think that their levels of anxiety dealing with poverty, crime, uh, uh, unemployment, educational issues, that it would be through the roof. What folks came to find out is that people adjusted around the things that gave them anxiety. So I'm not saying anxiety is not a necessary part of life. It's a reality in the lives we live. If you don't have have knowledge of something, you can have anxiety. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, you can have anxiety. Somebody says something that throws off your biorhythms can cause anxiety. My point is, though, brothers and sisters, the impetus is on building on this anxiety and not necessarily delineating what factors are leading into it. We don't do a good job in some regards of deconstructing anxiety around us. Case in point, if you are in your, let's say, 60s, if you're in your 60s, thank you, Sister Tana. The earthquake in Haiti was in 2010. But check this out, though. If you talk to somebody that's 65 and older, let me give you a little cue about them. If you talk to somebody that's 65 and over, 9 times out of 10, they were dealing with Jim Crow segregation. And I'm going to give a shout out to all the OGs and all the OG sisters that came up out of the South, because they represent a different classification of anxiety, whereby the anxiety that they have was a motivating anxiety. Meaning that when they got opportunities for mobility, if you will, on the promise of jobs up north, they left. They left. They made one of the most, I want to say, class educational decisions about staying in the South or not staying in the South. And they left, brothers and sisters. And we talk about high levels of anxiety because you're leaving on the promise or the potential that there's a job for you. A lot of them came up north and still they dealt with worse segregation up north. But my point is, brothers and sisters, they were able to move. They weren't paralyzed. The analysis that they came up with that justified their moves, hear me now, was based on facts. Based on facts. And this is the truest of the facts that you could talk about. They looked at their environment, asked questions. Is my environment healthy for me? And then many of them said, is it healthy for the child I have now or the children I'm going to have later? Really, they're framing, where do you plant your seeds for the future? We don't really have that now. We don't have that now. We have a different kind of anxiety. I was reading in a paper, 40-some people in Chicago got shot. over Labor Day weekend. And you say 40 some people got shot. Let me give you guys a little secret about when you hear those statistics. When you hear 40 some people got shot, that is meant to raise the antenna on your anxiety. You're more prone to sit at home and listen to more reports about people getting shot than actually leaving your house. Than asking questions about who got shot. Then looking in the obituary and asking, how's the family doing? You know, and I say this because in the past, when someone passed away, this is my generation, when someone passed away, you know what they did? They go visit the home. Who passed away? And there was a protocol. They passed away. Who are the loved ones? What do they need? Who's cooking what? Look at the assembly line to decompress or deconstruct the whole idea of anxiety, meaning that the anxiety was meant to help people transition. Right now, we don't have transitional aspects of anxiety. We have things that we heap on ourselves. Think about even the aspects of social media. What is social media meant to do? It's meant to feed a monster of anxiety. I'm not afraid to say, you want to find information. I don't read newspapers. I don't have the newspaper delivered to my house. There's no Washington Post or anything like that. I can get it on my phone. Now, God forbid that I just leave it up to facts. When I get it on my phone, I do get it on my computer. I do check the websites. I cross-reference. But a lot of people don't. And I have to say this, a lot of people don't, and a lot of people are very comfortable in not checking information. A lot of people are very, very comfortable in accepting that one story, owning that story, and giving it to someone else. Let me give you guys an example. A friend of mine, brother Mustafa, sent out a thing on his feed. I don't know. Can I call it a feed? Is it a text message group, text group? Is that right, Satana? So he had a text group and he sent out a thing about Kentucky Fried Chicken. You guys have heard about this. That a federal court, listen to what I'm saying, because you know how brothers and sisters love Kentucky Fried Chicken. Don't mess with my chicken. Don't mess with the kernel. But there's a thing that came on my phone, brothers and sisters, where they literally said, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. I'm going to read it. This is not with a report. It goes, KFC has lost its case after years of trying to conceal that its burgers are 100% chicken. It's been found guilty as only 15% is chicken and the remaining 85% is not even good for consuming but for dogs. Now you're reading this stuff, right? The Council of Islamic Justice has withdrawn its guarantee certificate as it found that even the spices, ketchup, mayonnaise are mixed and made from grease of pork. This, in addition to the company, is anti-Islamic. Now I'm giving you an example of what we do in our own community, the Muslim community. So here it is, a court case, right? A court case that has all these elements, right? They raise your anxiety. Stuff that you put in your body, stuff that you've already put in your body. Someone's saying that the court said it's unfit, that a chicken burger is only 15% chicken and the other 85% of the chicken is unfit for human consumption. Then I got another thing that fact-checked this. That said this is not what the case was about. This is not true. The case is that in the Chicago area, a person that owned 8 franchises was in litigation again. Well, they were in court against Kentucky Fried Chicken because these 8 franchises that I assume were owned by Muslim wanted to offer two options of chicken: a halal version of chicken and a non-halal version of chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken, the corporate office said, no, we don't want our product associated with religious religious dietary rights. That's what it was about. But if I stopped and didn't do any homework, every time you went to a Kentucky Fried Chicken, or every time somebody bought some around you, you would have this feeling of anxiety. And that feeling of anxiety buys into the fact, brothers and sisters, that people are so paralyzed with everything that goes bump in the night that unfortunately we stop investigating. In fact, the crime here, brothers and sisters, is not Kentucky Fried Chicken putting out a chicken burger that's only 15% chicken. The crime is Muslims dealing with a company that says, we don't want to respect your religious dietary rights. That's the argument. And as we begin to move through COVID, I'm going to tell you some of the arguments that I think are going to form, brothers and sisters. As more and more people die because the vaccinations are not available, I didn't say not taking them. Hear me now. As the vaccination become less and less available, we will have more and more narratives about somehow how the government failed us. Not how people failed us, how the government failed us. And that narrative, brothers and sisters, to the deaf, dumb, and blind will be the thing that they will use to tell you that you're not American, to tell you that you don't have value. Several episodes ago, I showed you something about pollution. We have the Native American who goes through he goes to America and he sees all this pollution and he sheds one tear, and it's an iconic commercial. And then I had to tell people that the Indian was Italian. He wasn't Indian. He wasn't Native American. He was Italian. And he lied about being Native American. And the Native Americans gave him an award. Why? Because he brought awareness about their cause, but he lied about being a Native American. It will be and has become the same thing about anxiety. You have a group of people that want you to stay in a state of heightened awareness. I would say false heightened awareness, but heightened awareness nonetheless, whereby you don't make good decisions. Let's get some of our people in here. We got Sister Ree. Well, what's going on, Sister Ree? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We hope you're feeling better, brothers and sisters. Ree has been a little down. Make sure that you send her some du'as and prayers. And also, Sister Ree's grandmother has not been feeling well. So we're going to send some of those long, sweet tea du'as to Alabama. We hope grandmama's doing well. Tell her we were thinking about her. We want to give a shout out to my main man, Altaf Rashid. What's going on, beloved? Thank you. Thank all of y'all for coming on the show yesterday. It was a great show. I was watching the broadcast this morning, man. I was like, I really had a good time. And I often say this, I haven't said it enough, but I'm gonna say it again. It's the people who make the show. Our regulars, I shout out show family, I shout out show soldiers, because they come, they drive a certain type of energy, and you want to make sure that you're giving them the best show possible when you can give it to them. So I appreciate everybody there in SOS land. Thank you so much. Altaf wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, our Canadian ambassadors. Mr. 6 o'clock, much love to you and your family, Altaf. Thank you so much. And we got Fight the Power Word. What's going on? Confirmation bias. This is true. Confirmation bias has a lot to do with anxiety. That's probably a different show. But I'm going to add something in to this, Fight the Power. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And again, thank you for coming on the show yesterday. Great question, as a matter of fact. And we got Mama San Mary Moss. What did you talk about, Mom? Anxiety is a money-making designation that is not to be cured, outlived, only grows with the person in the situation at hand. I like the way you phrased that. And of course, I'm gonna do that, Sister Satana. I got you. I'm gonna give a shout out to Sister Satana. Thank you so much. Sister Satana really made that show work yesterday. Allowed me to get into my interview thing with Dr. Bilal Ware, and I hope you guys appreciate him as well. I know I shouted him out, but I'm gonna shout him out again. Big shout out to my man Farouk Hunter, who came on the show and just really, man, the idea talking about supply chain and entrepreneurism and just this is a guy who has he's a blue ocean thinker. He's a really true blue ocean thinker. But what I like about it is he's kept it at a community level to help people frame concepts and ideas about how they want to do business, not just where they are, but around the world. So, big shout out to him. Fight the word power. I appreciate you bringing up confirmation bias, but it has to do with how people, and I've talked about this before, how people create distractions. Anxiety is a distraction. Let me say it again. Anxiety is a distraction, but it's a self generating distraction. Like people have to create environments whereby you figure that your best option, your best solution to deal with the environment is not going to work. Per se, if somebody put you in a room and closed the door and took the doorknob out, and you didn't have a doorknob to open, you would look around, you would not see any windows, and you would tend to panic thinking the only way I can get out of that room is to what? I need a doorknob to turn it. Not understanding that in a true fit of panic, you would literally kick the doors off the hinges if you had to get out of it. Think about that. But we think of the idea of process getting us out of a situation as opposed to logic. Furthermore, brothers and sisters, we have the juxtaposition that people put anxiety in a way, not so much that you will do what they want you to do, but whatever you're doing, you're going to do it at a much lower level of efficiency, right? Like we're talking about the voting rights thing in Texas and stuff like that. They can't stop you from voting. Like they cannot stop you from voting. Even the laws that they put out, these illegal laws, they're meant for suppression, but it's meant for you to feel suppression so that you don't leave your house and get to the polls. It has nothing to do with you getting to the polls and making a vote. It's designed for you to feel like there's something impending on your rights that's so prevailing that you're not going to exercise your God-given rights as a citizen here in the United States. Point taken, point shared. We now have an economy that's produced politics that has been geared up, for lack of a better word. Hear what I'm saying? It's just been geared up for a better world whereby politicians now lead the march on anxiety. There's a term I want you to look up called gaslighting. Gaslighting is it's this way that people try to frustrate other people to basically, I want to increase your anxiety. One of the ways Black people get our blood pressure raised is that we see people with access to rights and justice that we want, that we think we deserve, that we do deserve, but we, for some reason, we can't have them. You know what I mean? It's like a guy goes, "Hey man, I'm taking 10 people in the truck to go to work today." There's 10 people right there. A man says, "Well, it's 10 people. He needs 10 people." And the guy goes, "Well, no. I need 10 of these kind of people." That's meant to raise your anxiety. That's meant to put you in a space where you start to think that there is something inherently wrong about you, the way you think, or the way you engage with communities and opportunities around you. So as I close out, brothers and sisters, because I'm a little bit over, fight the power, you know what I'm about to say. As I close, let me introduce this idea that's a little borrowed, a little old, a little borrowed, a little new from someone I apologized to recently, and that's W.E.B. Du Bois. I argued against Du Bois years ago because I felt like his whole idea of a talented 10th in the Black community was elitist. That you would take the talented 10th and they would represent Black people. And I'm like, you can't do that. Da, 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 da. But let me revisit the fact that even though he apologized for the talented 10, he never apologized for us exerting this whole protocol to exemplify Black excellence, Black intelligence, Black creative thought, Black, I want to say, philosophical understanding of how we exist in the world. He never cut those things off. My anxiety was, of course, what? It's elitist. The guy, the black man that goes to Harvard is talking about the farmer and things like that, and not understanding that they have a relationship. So, one of the things I want to say as we move forward and I close out about anxiety, one of the best things about anxiety in the community is if we forge stronger bonds of relationships and fellowship, whereby when things visit us, they don't visit us as disparate incidents and single occurrences, that we have a normalcy in our community and our families whereby we can absorb those things and it not be a situation scenario where we're carrying anxiety. I was over in the UK and I was over in the UK and they talk about these buying houses, and we have an African word for it. It's a buying group, where a group of people say, I want to buy that building, and they all come together. In this case, Pakistan and Indian brothers and sisters, they all come together and they buy that building. They go to the person and say, we want that building. How much is it? $1 million. And amongst themselves, they raise $1 million and buy that building. They rent it out. And as the property value grows, every month somebody gets the rent for that property. But there's no anxiety. And I said, why is it anxiety? And I'm going to tell you why. Because people have planned for economic normalcy in the investment. What are we investing in, brothers and sisters, to counterbalance or counteract the things that give us anxiety? We talk about education. Are we building new schools? We talk about crime. Are we teaching people to love themselves so they're not in situations where crime flourishes? Are we putting out different type of education that I would say appeals to young men and young women who are out in the street today? Not out in the street, I take that back. That are out in society today. Have we acknowledged that somewhere along the line we've lost the language to talk to these youth? And the worst thing you can do is speak to lost youth with lost language. So I'm going to encourage all of us to do better, beginning with myself. I want to announce that, inshallah, next month I will be going back on tour, starting back doing shows with the prisons, because I was interrupted during COVID, but it's really because I owe them. Prison has a high level of anxiety, so I owe them. So let me start with my brothers and sisters there, and then I get back to the rest of y'all later. All right, so let's go ahead and let's give a shout out again. Shout out to Dr. Blau, where Brother Farouk Hunter, and all of y'all that come on the show. We appreciate it. All right, what we got, Sister Satana? We're going to shout out our sponsors. Shout out to Miss Maxine BK gave me a really nice call today telling me about the show. She really enjoyed the show. She's our sponsor for BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. If you don't want to go to the website, you can call 1-888-496-6845. Again, that's 1-888-496-6845. And if you're interested in quality Islamic education at the graduate level, you got to check out Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Again, that's Bayan Islamic Graduate School, brothers and sisters. Make sure you peep that situation because it's a beautiful one. And go to bayanonline.org. Again, that's bayanonline.org. Check them out. Great lectures, great people. Like if you like Dr. Blau yesterday, you will love some of the people they have teaching courses. And they are registering for their spring 2022 semester. Don't miss out. So listen, that's my show today. You guys have been amazing. And if there's anything you could do, take a walk, exercise, get good sleep, put down your phone, don't watch so much TV, eat well, get good rest. Like I said, don't listen to negative people, reduce your anxiety, because at this point in time, brothers and sisters, I am worried that yes, we have become the generation of anxiety. I'm Preacher Moss. Have a great evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.